Well, to unpack what transpired in that game, the very first game of this World Cup that the Springboks in, we're joined by, well, sport commentator as well as analyst Khanyiso Tshwaku, who will tell us how this was faring compared to the likes of the teams that we've played and also looking ahead. Khanyiso, I mean, this is our very first World Cup. I know it's easy to be a spectator because they say the spectator sees more of the game than the player. The player is saying they've seen their mistakes. How do you make the Springbok coaches' tactics as well as the way the Springbok women played?
Good evening. I think the first thing you need to address when you deal with the women's Springboks is a gulf in class. One needs to remember that the level of women's rugby in Europe is far more professionalized, far more advanced as compared to what you get in South Africa. So South Africa playing a third player, France or third in the world, the result is always going to be lopsided. I was actually surprised, and I think delightfully surprised, that South Africa actually kept France to a defeat of less than 50 points. I mean, if you looked at what happened in a subsequent England-Fiji game, I think that is the one game where one starts to slightly fear what the worst could happen. I mean, look, the women's Springbok side were outmuscled for the better part of the game, and you are muscled, and when you physically beaten, it's difficult to actually get a lot of go forward ball, because I mean, if you lose the forward battle, like in any form of rugby, it becomes difficult for you to actually come back. I think in Wednesday's press conference, if I remember, Stan Robbenheimer has actually called us to at least try and get a losing bonus point, which I feel in this particular game was, as it panned out, is eminently doable. But again, look, I mean, you just need to look at the gulf and class of the teams that the Boks have in the particular group. I mean, France and England are two class sides, and I think I'd suspect that it wouldn't be surprising if, especially England in particular, feature in the final. France, I suspect that they are potential semi-finalists. But look, I wouldn't say that it was a hiding to nothing. But when you look at the level of professionalism that the France Rugby Federation have plowed into their women's rugby, as compared to the baby steps that the women's Springboks are undergoing with SA Rugby, I mean, those gulfs in classes always tend to show in big games.
And you can look at the class when you look at the dominance from the French side. The women, I mean, their conditioning, you can tell that the amount of work and coaching that's going into that level.
Look, I mean, coaching aside, conditioning and fitness is often a differential between your better paid, your better resource teams and your lesser resource sides, because the key part is that players who are better conditioned and better fitness-wise have time to actually put aside time that ideally that they would to be working, to actually focus on their work, to work on their conditioning.
Khanyiso, I mean, I have to look at the fact that, yes, Coach Stanley Robbenheimer didn't go into the World Cups previously. They waited, they bided their time, and we were looking at this match saying, well, the only way is up.
No, it is. I mean, look, they missed the previous World Cup. They were at the 2014 one. So it's just one of those things where I think when you look at where they were in 2017, you look at where they are now. I mean, massive steps have been taken. And I mean, look, they're participating regularly in the sevens. They are participating. I mean, they underwent a tour last year to Europe, where you realize now that had they not gone on their tour, I think a lot of lessons made that were very applicable in this particular game and this particular set of matches when they were warming up would not have been possible to see. So look, I mean, the thing with development is that the steps are always incremental. One cannot expect the South African women's rugby team to have the kind of gains that, let's say, the women's side and Banyana had, because those teams have been playing at a higher level regularly, and I think with more time at the level, the better the Springbok women's team will get.
And I just looked at that good defense we had in the last 20 minutes of the first half. So there is sparks of what the potential of this women's Springbok team can and will be.
Defense speaks to attitude, and I think that's the most important takeout from this game, is that the Springbok women's side displayed attitude, especially good defensive attitude throughout the game, because a key to any team to where they are mentally is through how they defend. And I think they may have lost 45, but I think at no other point did they actually let up the attitude and intensity on defense. And I think that's the one good takeout that could take into again. And then I think that you know against Fiji next week, and hopefully they maintain, they play the best side in the tournament, that is England.
Well, I mean, listen, Fiji got a hiding today. What should the Springboks look forward to when they take on that Fiji side?
Look, so long as they're able to maintain the intensity and attitude through that 80 minutes, because you could see embers of good attacking rugby from the team. So look, I think the important thing is that they just need to be accurate on attack and ensure that they maintain an intensity throughout the 80 minutes. Because I think I look at that game and I realize when in the way that Fiji played against England and the way that South Africa played against France, I think that is the one game that I can genuinely believe that they can actually win.
Well, that's right. I have to agree with you. Your attitude determines your altitude. Thank you so much. There we go, chatting to sport commentator as well as analyst Khanyiso Tshwaku here. You know, they say it's not the size of the dog, but the size of the bark in the dog. And we know that our women's team certainly has